My name's Bliss Pointer, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Home Care You Say Updates podcast. I'm so excited to begin this journey with you all, giving you the latest updates on everything that's happening in home care. So let's jump right in. We are going to start today with the federal update, and we have some big news coming out of the federal government. I'm really excited that we get to start the podcast today with this kind of update just because it's something that's so important. And pretty much everyone that's in the home health space, or even just home care in general across the board, we're looking for this update to come out. CMS released the final home health rule on Friday. So I'm recording today on Sunday, November 30th. This past Friday, CMS released the home health rule, and the best way for me to describe it is it could have been a lot worse. We were expecting the proposed 9% cut, and everyone was sitting on pins and needles to see that come through because that is a very heavy cut for home health providers. So seeing that not happen, seeing that rate reduced, a lot of people are thanking CMS for kind of listening to providers and taking us into account there. So there's a lot more inside the home health rule that I'd like to talk about, and we will continue talking about as we continue through these podcasts. I will be recording twice a month, so I expect to be continuing to talk about this a lot. But advocates nationwide are preparing for the next push in Congress to stop further reductions to home health and home care in general. So keep an eye out to your emails for federal updates and action alerts. Another thing coming out of the federal update is the VA released their 2026 fee schedule. There were no cost of living adjustments. So what that means for those that may not know is like an inflationary year. We've seen a lot of inflation taking place. A cost of living increase is just like a cost of living adjustment for an employee. So that's something that we're not truly happy about. We really needed to see that. An agency serving veterans, this means tight margins heading into 2026. So I will keep you guys updated. I do know that most states remained with a flat rate, same as last year, while Texas and New Mexico did receive a rate adjustment. So we will continue talking about that and what kind of effects that could have leading into 2026, which is not too far away. All right, everyone, let's jump into our state updates. So today we're going to start with New Jersey. New Jersey continues to work on legislation to ensure private duty nursing hours are not reduced when clients turn 21. So this is something that is a great update from New Jersey. Clients that are receiving PDN services at a pediatric level, so under 21, when they turn 21, nothing changes in their lives. They still need the same services. They are still struggling with the same illnesses or diagnoses. So cutting their hours just because of an age change is not acceptable. So this is great news out of New Jersey, and I really hope that more states follow suit in this because I can't imagine having received the same care for probably years and then being told just because you're at a certain age you can't receive the same care. So props to New Jersey, and I hope to see more in other states try to do this. All right, now moving to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania passed their budget. It was a long delayed budget without a Medicaid increase for home care agencies. Only the consumer direct model saw a funding bump. So this kind of means nothing changes, but again, no inflationary increase like we talked about with the VA fee schedule. People are still going to suffer as prices continue to go up. Things are still going to be more difficult, especially for providers trying to get hours filled, right? So Pennsylvania is now in like an 80-day window for the governor's budget. So advocates are still out there in Pennsylvania working diligently to try to educate, share information about how not even receiving a small bump in fee or a rate increase is going to affect these individuals' lives. So if you are an advocate in Pennsylvania, please keep an eye out in your emails for action alerts and opportunities for you to get involved to help support advocacy efforts for home care. All right, moving to Delaware. So Delaware has new leadership, as we all know. I believe 2 weeks ago we had the election. So now what's going on is a lot of government affairs organizations, advocates are looking into the candidates that won. What are their like hot button topics? What are they really interested in when it comes to policy? And that way you can kind of gauge what's going to happen in 2026. What kind of policies are we going to see flowing through the legislatures, flowing through the governor's offices, things like that. And a lot of champions for home care. If you see someone get elected and they talk about, how much they care about home care, maybe someone in their family received home care, you can see them as a future champion and to help home care related legislation pass through. So that's kind of what's going on in Delaware and a lot of other states across the country. So we will keep you guys updated on what we're seeing and hopefully bring some good policies through for next year. All right, now to North Carolina. North Carolina, sadly, not good news. North Carolina had a rate reduction take into effect on October 1st. This was a 3% to 10% cut across the board for Medicaid. This is not good. This is something that is direly affecting the lives of North Carolinians. And people across the country are looking at North Carolina and saying that this could happen in other states. So we are taking a look at this very closely. And, the governor's office and the General Assembly of North Carolina, which consists of North Carolina state representatives and state senators, continue to disagree on whether these cuts were necessary. The General Assembly claims that there was funding for Medicaid through April 2026, so the cuts that took place in October were a little premature, while the governor's office is disagreeing with that. Sadly, there is no expected change for this in 2025. It is not expected for the General Assembly to come back into Raleigh, North Carolina to pass any type of funding bill. We still do not have a budget in North Carolina either. So there's a lot of things, floating around in the air. We're not quite sure what's going on. So, we're going to continue to keep an eye on this. There have been 2 lawsuits filed and more that I believe that have been worked on in the state of North Carolina that have been targeted to the Department of Health and Human Services. None of the lawsuits that have taken place yet relate to home and community-based services, but we hope one soon will, and that way we can show that this is not good for our clients. This is not good for providers. This is going to affect almost every single North Carolinian. If you receive Medicaid, you are going to be affected by this issue. So if you are an advocate in North Carolina or you're from a different state and you're concerned about this issue, keep an eye on social media. This issue has been plastered all over the news, all over Instagram, Facebook. If you haven't seen it, I would be shocked. I've seen it everywhere. So please keep an eye out for that and opportunities to help support North Carolina. All right, moving on to more positive news. Today I'm going to combine South Carolina and Florida because their updates are very similar and very exciting relating to events that will take place next year. 2 major advocacy events are coming. One in South Carolina is South Carolina's Advocacy Day. So if you are a Hearts for Home Care advocate, you have most likely seen emails or social media posts about Advocacy Day. If you are not a Hearts for Home Care advocate, please think of signing up. It is absolutely wonderful. It is free. And you receive a lot of great information like we're talking about today. But one of the great events that we host is Advocacy Days. This is where you're going to have the opportunity to come to your state legislature and go meet your legislators and tell them all about home care, all about the things that you face day to day, either as a provider, a nurse, an aide, or just a concerned family member or concerned citizen. We will give you talking points. You will get to mingle with others all across the state in the home care space. So this is just something that, if you can't tell, I get really excited about because it really brings you into the fold. You get to see kind of what a lobbyist does day to day, going around to the offices, talking with legislators, their staff members. And if you've never been to your state legislature before, it's a really cool place to go. Each state's is a little different. So be on the lookout. That Advocacy Day for South Carolina is taking place on February 4th, 2026. So that will also come out to your emails for an RSVP. So keep an eye out for that. And Florida, your Advocacy Day in Tallahassee will take place on February 10th through 11th. So sometimes with Advocacy Days, we have a little Advocacy Day event the night before. And for those that are at different parts of the state, you can stay the night in a hotel or wherever you'd like to stay. So please think of coming for that as well. You will also receive an invitation for that in your email. And fun news, I will be there as well. We are bringing the podcast on the road to be able to do live Q&As with you all at these type of events. So I will talk a little bit more about that in the next segment, but I'm so excited to meet you all in person and bring you on the podcast. So now I would just like to highlight 2 or 3 other states. It's really hard to cover all states because there's 50 of them, but I just want to give you guys kind of a look at some of the wins and losses that are going on in other states across the country. So one of those being Virginia, another state that just had a very big election. They elected their new governor. So just like what I was talking about with Delaware, we're looking at that candidate, what their hot button topics are. But Virginia approved new oversight requirements for Medicaid home care agencies and is now evaluating a personal care and PDN rate increase for 2026. This is really exciting news. You know, we talk a lot about budgets being delayed, cuts to Medicaid, and to hear that a state is looking into doing a rate increase is really exciting, and we hope that we see other states follow through with this as well. So I'm super excited about that, and we'll keep you updated on Virginia. And another state, this is actually a rate increase that took place, is in Colorado. They finalized a Medicaid HCBS rate increase for early 2026. So it'll go into effect at the beginning of next year, but it is being finalized currently, and it's including target incentives for rural and frontier regions to help stabilize caregiver recruitment. So something that I've seen in states that are doing rate increases, Virginia that's thinking about it, Colorado that it just took place, they're really looking at workforce requirements. They're looking at caregiver recruitment, a lot of unfilled hours out there that need to be filled. And we need to make sure that we can hire nurses and give them a reason to come to the home care community when there's so many other options out there for them to make more money. Going to the hospitals, going into in-home care facilities. They're going to make more money there. We want home care to be competitive while also still being the best cost-saving measure for most states and the country. So yeah, that is the end of my additional state updates, but I hope to bring you more information on those 2 states and other states to come. All right, everyone. So this next segment of the podcast is going to be bringing you right into the fold. I'm going to be listening and answering your questions live on the podcast. So the way this is going to work is once this podcast is posted the first week of December, I'm going to ask that you comment your questions. Now, these questions can consist of home care questions, advocacy questions, anything and anything that you may want to know. I am here to answer those. And to the person that I answer their question, you are going to receive a prize. So I hope that is incentive for you to ask some questions in the comments. And we'll try to answer any other questions that don't get picked for the podcast in the comments as well. But I have some really exciting prizes. So I hope you guys ask some questions. And with that, as we were talking about earlier with Advocacy Days, I will be doing on-site Q&As at events like Advocacy Day, conferences related to home care, or just out in the wild. Because this is your podcast. This is your opportunity to learn anything and everything you want to know related to advocacy in the home care space. So please get excited. Come on the podcast. If you just want to say hey, or you want to ask a question live, I will be there with a little mic ready for you. I have so enjoyed bringing you the updates this week, and I can't wait to continue bringing you the updates into the new year and for the month of December. I'm very excited. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and see you again soon.